Hi there, I'm Jay Walker. I'm the Agitated Ecoist, and this is part of the climate change series of talks. And today the talk is things we can't talk about in good company. And first I am going to provide a little bit of information. Maybe some of you have heard it from some of the other talks I've given, but it's consistent. It's relating to the June 27th article in The Economist magazine, where Munich Re, a large insurance company, calculated that the number of climate-related disasters has climbed by 3 to 4 times over a baseline in the early to middle 1980s. These climate-related disasters include things like the generational drought currently affecting California and much of Western North America, forest fires, floods like we've seen in Calgary recently, hurricanes, landslides, heat waves, changing of the monsoon in India, and many other big storm issues. If this trend continues of an increased number of climate-related disasters, then we can look forward in 3 decades from now, just 30 years away, that the number of climate-related disasters will be roughly 10 to 15 times higher than it was in that 1980s baseline. And by about 60 years from now, or 6 decades away, that it's going to be something like 30 to 60 times higher than it was over that same 1980s baseline. I wonder how many of you and me, think that this is going to be a sustainable and successful ecosystem for us human beings and for the other species we share the planet with. I'm wondering if you think that. Mr. Harper, as our prime political leader, has ignored this tough climate file. And it is a tough file, I'll grant anyone that. But he's ignored it during his tenure. However, the climate crisis era is now here and it can't any longer be ignored. Part of him ignoring it is on us, or is on him. He's supposed to be a leader. He's supposed to make tough choices that help us all prosper in the long term. He's supposed to inspire us to be willing to change our systems, to change regulations that allow some things to flourish and other things to diminish. And he's supposed to help us all become somewhat more resilient in the face of some inevitable change. But Mr. Harper has ignored the societal and leadership responsibility on this file. But part of that issue of him being able to ignore it is on us. And I mean us as voters, us as citizens. We've helped him to successfully be able to ignore it by treating climate change and the climate crisis as something we can't talk about with our family, as something we can't talk about with our friends, as something we can't talk about with our neighbors and co-workers. It's too serious and we're just not going to do it because it's too hopeless. We treated it like a taboo subject. But we've opened up about taboo subjects before. Some of the taboo subjects we had were bullying in the 1960s, the 1970s, and 1980s. Now we have started to deal with these issues. We've opened up about them. Drug and alcohol, that was a taboo subject. We didn't talk about that in the 1970s, 1980s, and maybe even into the 1990s, how to treat it, what to do about it. We didn't talk about being gay or lesbian in the 1990s or 2000s, and now we see around us the rainbow revolution is changing people's lives and perceptions and allowing folks to live full and complete lives now. They no longer have to hide in a closet. And I would say, just like mental illness, that's been a taboo subject in the past. You can't talk about your mental wellness or lack thereof. And thankfully that's starting to come out of the closet as well. This is how we treated climate change in the past. We have not discussed it. It's been a taboo subject. Don't talk to your friends about it, family. Despite the direness of the situation, please don't discuss it. But thankfully, we're moving past that now. We have to talk about these things to our family, our friends, our neighbors, and our co-workers about this serious threat. And we need leaders who will respond to that, who will encourage, coax, and cajole us, who will make tough choices necessary today, looking forward to having a sustainable ecosystem 20 and 40 years out. Leaders who will talk about the climate crisis issue at every opportunity. Mr. Harper, unfortunately, has failed us here. He wants to pander to our short-term hostess Twinkie eating by feeding us a diet of income and pension splitting, child tax care benefit, and teasing Mr. Justin Trudeau about his hair or about his age. The climate file isn't hopeless, Mr. Harper. We want you to think, believe it's not, and act accordingly. We can eat our vegetables, Mr. Harper. We might need a bit of encouragement. We might need a bit of leadership. But that's what we hired you for. On October 19th, I ask you to gather your courage and think about these things. Mr. Harper has had nearly 10 years with this file and done very little. I ask you to think about that as you step into the polling booth and perhaps vote differently, maybe even completely differently than you have in the past. We need a leader who acts and believes for a viable future 20 and 40 years out. Mr. Stephen Harper has done very little on this file. Hashtag Harper just not willing. Thank you very much.